You wake up, check your phone, scroll through 40 notifications, get up, rush through breakfast, sit in traffic, work for 8 hours, come home tired, watch something to forget the day, sleep, wake up, do it all again. And somewhere in the middle of all that, there's this quiet feeling, like no matter what you achieve, no matter what you buy, no matter who you become, it's never quite enough. Sound familiar? 2,500 years ago, a man sat beneath a tree in northern India and asked the exact same question, and what he discovered changed the world forever. Welcome today, one of our 100-day journey through Buddha's wisdom for modern life. For the next 100 days, every single day, we're going to take one of the oldest and most powerful teachings on the planet and show you exactly how it applies to your life, right now, not in a monastery, not in a philosophy class, right here, in the middle of deadlines, relationships, scrolling, and all the beautiful chaos of being alive today. And we're starting at the very beginning, the foundation of everything Buddha taught, the Four Noble Truths. Now I know what you might be thinking. Truths sounds heavy, academic, like something you'd read in a textbook and forget by Tuesday. But here's what I want you to understand. The Four Noble Truths are not a religious doctrine. They are a diagnosis, a roadmap. They are the most honest thing anyone has ever said about why human beings suffer. And more importantly, what to do about it. Stay with me for the next 10 minutes. This one teaching alone could genuinely change how you see every single day of your life. Imagine northern India, around 500 BCE. A young prince named Siddhartha Gautama has lived his entire life inside a palace. His father, the king, had been told by a prophecy, if this boy ever sees suffering, he will leave the kingdom and become a great spiritual teacher. And so the king did everything in his power to make sure Siddhartha never saw pain, only beauty, only pleasure, only comfort. Siddhartha had everything: palaces, feasts, hundreds of servants, a beautiful wife, a newborn son. By every measure, his life was perfect. And yet, there was a restlessness, a hunger that all this comfort could not fill. One day, Siddhartha convinced a servant to take him beyond the palace walls. And in a single afternoon, he saw three things he had never seen before. First, a very old man, bent, frail, walking with difficulty. He asked his servant, "What has happened to this man?" The servant replied, "My lord, this is simply old age. It happens to all of us." Second, a sick man, lying by the road, feverish, in pain. "What is wrong with him?" "My lord, this is illness. It can come to any of us." Third, a corpse being carried through the street. Siddhartha had never encountered death. He was shaken to his core. That night, he sat in his palace surrounded by all his wealth, all his privilege, all his comfort, and he could not sleep, because he had seen the truth that no palace can hide. Suffering is real, and it comes for everyone. 6 years later, after leaving his kingdom, his family, and everything he owned, after pushing his body to the very edge of survival and finding that extreme deprivation also didn't bring peace, Siddhartha sat beneath a Bodhi tree and refused to move until he understood, really understood. And on that night he did. He became the Buddha, the awakened one. And the very first teaching he gave in a place called Deer Park in Sarnath was the Four Noble Truths. So what are the Four Noble Truths? Let me break them down simply. And then we'll talk about what they actually mean for your life today. The first noble truth is called dukkha. It is usually translated as suffering. But that word doesn't quite capture it. A better translation might be unsatisfactoriness, incompleteness, that feeling of something being slightly off. Buddha said, life contains dukkha. Not that life is only suffering. He was very clear about that. Joy is real. Love is real. Beauty is real. But woven through all of it is this thread of impermanence, of things not lasting, of wanting more. Buddha wasn't being pessimistic. He was being precise. Like a doctor who first says, yes, something is wrong. Let's not pretend otherwise. The second noble truth is called samudaya, the origin of suffering. And Buddha said the root cause is tanha, which means craving or thirst. We suffer because we cling. We cling to pleasure, wanting it to never end. We cling to our identity, wanting it to be permanent. We cling to people, to outcomes, to the way we want things to be, rather than accepting the way things actually are. The third noble truth is called Nirodha. And this is the hopeful one. It says, the cessation of suffering is possible. This is not wishful thinking. This is Buddha saying, I have found the way out. The pain is not permanent. The craving can be released. Freedom is real and available to you. And the fourth noble truth is called Magga, the path. Specifically, the Noble Eightfold Path. A practical, step-by-step approach to living that we will explore in depth tomorrow on day 2. But here is the thing I want you to hold on to right now. Buddha structured this like a doctor. First noble truth, here is the diagnosis. You are suffering. Second noble truth, here is the cause. Craving, clinging, resistance to what is. Third noble truth, here is the prognosis. You can be free. Fourth noble truth, here is the treatment. The path. This is not mysticism, this is medicine for the human heart. So let's make this real. Think about the last time you felt genuinely, deeply anxious. Maybe it was about money. Maybe about a relationship. Maybe just this low-grade background hum of feeling like you're falling behind. Now apply the second noble truth. Ask yourself, what am I clinging to right now? What outcome am I demanding from life in order to feel okay? Maybe you're craving certainty in a situation that is fundamentally uncertain. Maybe you're clinging to how a relationship used to be, rather than seeing it as it is now. Maybe you're attached to an image of yourself. Successful, together, ahead. And reality keeps bumping up against that image. Buddha isn't saying, stop caring. He's saying, notice the difference between caring and clinging. You can care deeply about your work without making your worth dependent on the outcome. You can love someone fully without demanding they never change. Here is another modern example. Scrolling. We all do it. And we all know that familiar feeling after 20 minutes on social media, vaguely worse than when we started. Why? Because scrolling is pure tanha, pure craving. Each swipe is a little search for the thing that will finally satisfy the hunger. The next post, the next hit of novelty, but it never comes. And according to the second noble truth, it never will. Because the hunger is not for more content. The hunger is for presence. And presence is the one thing a screen cannot give you. And then there's this. Think about the last time you achieved something you had worked hard for. A promotion, a goal, a milestone. And notice, there was joy, yes. But also, surprisingly quickly, a new wanting. A new goal. A new thing to chase. That's not a character flaw, that's dukkha. That's the nature of the conditioned mind. And the first step to freedom from it is simply seeing it clearly. Here is your one practice for today. It takes under 2 minutes. At some point this afternoon, when you notice yourself feeling restless or anxious or vaguely unsatisfied, pause. Just pause. Place one hand on your chest, take one slow breath, and ask yourself gently, honestly, what am I clinging to right now? Not to judge it, not to fix it, just to see it. Because Buddha's great insight wasn't that suffering is bad, It's that suffering is visible. It has a cause. And anything with a cause can be changed. That one moment of clear seeing. That is the entire First Noble Truth in practice. That is the beginning of the path. You don't need a monastery. You don't need to sit for an hour. You just need one honest breath, one honest question, one moment of turning toward reality instead of away from it. That's day one. That's the foundation everything else is built on. Tomorrow, on day 2, we go deeper. The Noble Eightfold Path. Buddha's actual map for how to live. It's more practical than you might think, and more relevant to modern life than almost anything I've ever come across. If today's lesson landed for you, if something in it made you go quiet for a moment, share it with one person. Not because we need the views, because they might need this today. I'll see you tomorrow. And as always, the wisdom was never outside of you. It was just waiting to be remembered.